All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Late Show. This is your host, Young Brando, and we are live to talk watches once again. I'm a little stumped. I left you a poll right there. I couldn't quite decide. I couldn't quite make my mind up. Should I cover the upcoming Sotheby's Fine Watches auction that is based in New York City? Or should we look at the official nominations that were finally announced for the GPHG, the Grand Prize for Horology, Grand Prix d'Horlogerie de Genève? We can do either one. I think there are a few notes in already, so let's take a look. But please let me know what you think. Let me know what you would like, and we'll go from there. All right, beautiful. It's split right down the middle, for now at least, with the first four votes coming in, two each, two for the GPHG official nominations, two for the Sotheby's New York City Fine Watches. Um, I will. I'll take a second, maybe. I will let me send in the link for the lots. For Sotheby's Fine Watches, the bidding is going to start in about 10 hours or so, and it will continue until September 15th. And for the GPHG, all the categories have been announced. Of course, the gala is towards the end of the year. I'm sure soon enough they will announce the official members of the jury and who is going to actually decide on the winners in each category. Um, Let me see. Let me pull up the fine watches. I already sent you the link right down there. I'll just give it a quick scroll, so you have like a general idea about what watches are there. It's the first page. There are a lot of interesting FP pieces, usual suspects from Rolex and Patek, some fascinating vintage Rolexes, including a couple of quote-unquote doctor's watches, the old school prints from the OG Art Deco era. Um, there's like a case of wines that were gifted from FP Jean to, I believe, one of their select customers. Imagine, I mean, what kind of insult, what kind of slap in the face this must be, right? You gift your customer an entire case of wine, and they turn around and go to an auction house to make a quick profit on it. It's such a strange world that we live in. And then, for every guy who does something like this, there are of course a dozen people who actually like watches waiting in line for one simple allocation. It's a fantastic world this horological space has turned out to be. There are also a few of Gerard Janta's original sketches interspersed as well, among other things. And that's another interesting uh, development, of course, because these were the drawings, these were the sketches that were just auctioned off by Sotheby's last year. which was, of course, not one year among many. It was the 50th anniversary of what is perhaps the most iconic and certainly the most recognizable horological design by Gerard Janta, the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak, and the Heritage Foundation, Gerald Janta Heritage Foundation, took advantage of that occasion to auction off some of those very interesting and thus far undiscovered, at least by the public, sketches, drawings, and designs by the late artist. And as you know, his personal 5402, namely a stainless steel Royal Oak with actually an 18-karat yellow gold octagonal bezel, was also auctioned off last year. But again, that being said, you see just last year auctioned off by Sotheby's. You have at least a couple of them finding their way back once again to the auction circuits. And then when it comes to the GPHG, we have the official nominations finalized for all the categories. Ladies' watches, which are quite distinctly ornamental. Ladies' complication, which is a kind of confused category because most of the time these are watches, complicated watches that could have just as well been nominated in the men's category, sometimes with slightly reduced sizes. As you guys know, last year it was Hermès who won both of the categories with different sizes of the same watch. Le Temps Voyageur, which was their take on the time-honored world time complication, men's watch, men's complication, iconic, as you know, one of my favorite words ever. Can't finish a show without saying it at least half a dozen times. So if you want me to say iconic even more, feel free to vote for the coverage of GPHG. Mechanical exception, which includes that famous ultra complicated Universel, which takes inspiration from a historical pocket watch by Audemars Piguet that is now held in their museum, but in a modern execution in a 42 millimeter Code 1159 case. The Chapek Complicité chronograph, probably one of the more exciting categories here. A beautiful new rendition of the DB8 by De Bethune, the famous single button chronograph that finds its roots, of course, in the previous version of the DB8, written with the numeral, also called the football timer, with a single 45-minute totalizer as its chronograph register, with DB1, which was a classic bicompax chronograph with a single button, and finally, of course, that famous Cartier Tortue monopoussoir, which was in fact developed in terms of its movement by Denis Flageolet and François Paul Jaune for Cartier, in 1999, and the Rattrapante chronograph, the split seconds chronograph by the young watchmaking duo Petermann Beda, as well as the new Tag Heuer Carrera Skipper. Some interesting pieces there. Sports, which has a little bit of everything. Jewelry pieces, artistic crafts, petite aiguille, which usually is the most exciting category since it takes since the entrants are watches that cost anywhere from, I believe, 4K to 10K in Swiss francs. And then there's the challenge price, which is for watches that are even cheaper than that. And then mechanical clocks, which are often automata, anything from desk clocks shaped in very attractive vessels or more complex mechanisms that include almost an sculptural, which is not to say architectural, mastery. Oh, wow. Ciao, Sam. Nice to see you, man. Sam Davidson. Hey, hope you're well too, man. Thank you for the £2 I appreciate you. JB, also a member of the channel and a great friend. Love you, man. $9.99 live and styling from LA. Hey, my eye has almost healed, so I will finally be able to take these glasses off. So, enjoy it while it lasts. Enjoy it while it lasts. Let's see. Guys, don't forget to hit the like button as you express your opinion in the poll. The GPHG official nominations finally pulled ahead a little bit. Just 9 votes. I see there are 11 likes. I really like that. With about 13 people watching, that's a healthy amount. If you could just take a quick vote, make your mind up, hit the like button, and let me know whether you want me to cover the Grand Prix, the Grand Prize for Horology, or the Fine Watches auction, for which the bidding will start in about 10 hours in New York City. And will continue to unfold for the next 2 weeks. I will look at these beauties. Wow. The classic perpetual calendar by Breguet, right from the end of the Chomet brothers period in platinum. And with that sapphire cabochon on the crown, which is a wonderful touch, of course, as always. And it seems like someone is selling an entire set, because you see there's the platinum, there's the yellow gold, There's the pink gold. Oh, and then there's white gold 3130, which actually is one of my favorites. This is the watch that Daniel Roth designed in wristwatch form, taking a very strong inspiration from pocket watch number 5, which was, of course, an original piece by the Breguet, Abraham Louis. But yeah, there's a good chance that these Breguet pieces may be coming from even the same collection. All right, let's see. Let me take another look. Okay, 11 votes, 55% GPHG, 45% Sotheby's fine watches. All right, last call. 2 more minutes. If you haven't voted, please hit the like button first and then let me know what you would like me to cover tonight. The GPHG official nominations that were just announced in Geneva earlier today, or the Sotheby's fine watches auction based out of New York City, for which the bidding will start in about 10 hours and go on for the next 2 weeks. In either case, nothing too time sensitive. We can get to either one. But I was just incredibly indecisive tonight. So thank you for helping me out in this way. Let me refresh my drink, in fact, get even the colder bottle. And by then, I will have the results. All right. Owl, how are you doing, man? Nice to see you. Nice to see you. Yeah, I think that's my look, actually. I should get a monocle. You know, the sunglasses are too much for me. Too youthful. Too youthful. Okay, now it's 50-50. I knew it. I knew it. Okay, who is gonna do the tiebreaker? Or will I have to finally make a decision on my own channel? Okay, 10, 9, 8, 7, GPHG or Sotheby's, 5, 4, 3, 1. It's ending. It's ending. It's ending. Oh, oh, oh. All right. End it. Okay. Curly and Libro Grande wrote, I changed my votes to TPHG. GPHG. And Real World Curly said GPHG too. Okay. So look, guys, I'm not a huge fan of democracy anyway. So if I see more chance of GPHG in the chat, I'll just do that because I like loud people. That's what I will go with. More GPHG votes, or will I have to go with the demos? Why are you calling him names, Captain? That's not nice. All right, so look, guys, we'll start with Sotheby's fine watches. If someone wants to join the panel and push me towards talking the Grand Prix, I will do that. If you join the panel and push me and even talk with me, I will go back to the GPHG. If not, go back. Let's start with something lighthearted. As I mentioned, these are the wines that they actually gift to some of their choice clients, and someone is auctioning off an entire case. I hope it's you know, F. Bejon's own effort or something, because again, if this is someone who was gifted this and just turned around and, you know, and went to an auction house to sell it off, that's just bad manners. This is apparently 49% Merlot and 51% Cabernet Sauvignon. 6 bottles of the 2018 Cuvée F. Bejon by Chateau Seguin. Interesting. I mean, considering how those bait figures of a young and old F. Bejon with interchangeable set of watches used to sell at a premium on auctions, I'm guessing this will too. Lot number 1, a case of 6 bottles produced for François Paul Jean, Invenit Fetsit, with an estimated value of $1,000 to $2,000 US. Oh, did you like that, Curly? I'm so glad. I'll be there this Sunday too. And Ben will be there as well. But we might be interviewing Ben's best friend and someone that I feel very privileged to call my friend as well. So let's see if that works out. Lot number 2 is a watch that has come up previously on my channel, and you would be excused for thinking that it is just an edition of the Octa Calendrier, F. Bejon's take on the annual calendar. But this is actually a perpetual calendar piece that was released in a limited edition to celebrate the 5th anniversary of the brand's boutique in Tokyo, which was their first boutique globally. And as you can see, for the month of February, it actually has the leap year indication, which makes things a little more discreet. And ultimately, that's the month for which you need the leap year indication. So it makes absolute sense. And, you know, there are a few brands that get my kudos for executing these sorts of complications in an ingenious way, and most certainly FP Jaune is one of them. Of course, as you can see, since the model is called Octa Perpetuel, this is a self-winding piece with the bridge plates and the base plates of the caliber executed in 18 karat pink gold as well, and with a 22 karat off-center rotor weight, a titanium case, which is very special and quite rare for a Jaune watch, complemented by pink gold accents, both on the dial furniture, but also on the crown, as well as Quickset slider on the left band of the case that is also in pink gold. This was a limited edition, of course, a limited run of 99 pieces. And it was one of the 5 models that celebrated the 5th anniversary of the Tokyo boutique, one of the 5 models that belong to the Anniversaire Tokyo series. And of course, Octa Perpetuel perhaps is the most precious of them, since it is an original complication, which has not been produced in any other series. Just like FP Jaune's annual calendar, the layout includes a retrograde date indication in the form of a crescent-shaped scale that looks towards the crown of the watch, 2 apertures for at 10 o'clock the day of the week, and at around 8 o'clock the month, with the February also including the leap year indication, 1, 2, 3, and 4 for the leap year, for the longer February. And as I mentioned, all the hands as well as the bolts on the dial are in that pink shade of gold, and the dial itself is ruthenium, which actually looks very ruthenium coated, I should say, which actually looks very handsome in combination with that titanium case, which is in high polish. Unsurprisingly, this is full set number 57 of 99. In 40 millimeters. With a pre-auction estimate of 125,000 to 180,000 in US dollars. That was lot 2 for an FP Jaune Octa Perpetuel from the 5th anniversary of the Tokyo Boutique series, one of 99 pieces. One of the only 99 pieces, since this perpetual calendar was not produced in any other serial run as an FP Jaune watch. Kind of like the Octa Day and Night, right? That was only produced for the Ruthenium series and nowhere else, and never again. Number 3 is a classic FP Jaune piece, the Octa Réserve de Marche, one of their purest executions of the self-winding watch. Of course, this comes right from the threshold of their transition into the movements that were themselves executed in gold. So there will be a little surprise, but you can already see that the white gold dial, that's gray / khaki color, has taken on a little bit of a patina as the watch is about 20 years old, with the big date and the power reserve indicator for the 5-day movement. And voila, you actually have rhodium plated brass movement, which of course, because of its rarity, because they are not coming back anytime soon, runs with a significant premium. And of course, remember, if you care about something like that, the great majority of the brass movement FP Jaunes are also a little more compact. Here we're looking at a watch that has a 38 millimeters of platinum case. Whereas after the transition, they were resized and became 40 millimeters, which was, pardon me, a new case size that were introduced with the Ruthenium series that celebrated precisely that transition. This is an FP Jaune Octa Réserve de Marche in platinum, 38 millimeters, before the transition to pink gold movements, so the so-called brass movements, with an estimated value of 80,000 to 120,000 in US dollars at lot number 3. Hey, G Gadwa. How are you doing, man? Mental Jock, nice to see you. Captain says Steel Buffalo Motors was very cool. Hey, I appreciate that. That's why I display their logo so proudly every single day. Hey, Basil, how are you doing, man? Al29. Yeah, with all due respect, my friend, whoever you were, whether you were trolling or actually advertising, you cannot do that on my page unless you're paying me, in which case we can always make a deal. Just email me. You can find it on my About page on YouTube. Feel free. Again, I'm gonna post the link to the auction we are browsing, we are exploring. So if you want me to take a look at any of the lots for you in some serious detail, extensively, please feel free to send in the lot number with a super chat, and I'll be more than happy to do that for you. At number 4, we have an MBNF legacy machine split escapement with their classic inverted balance look, off-center dial, as well as separate subdials for a pointer date, which roughly falls to the traditional 8 o'clock placement on the dial, and the power reserve indicator, which falls on 4 with the crown taking its place where 2 o'clock would have been. Hey, Serti, how are you doing, man? It's what time is it there? Why are you still up? Or has it been a long night and you haven't go to bed? So this is a piece from a few years back. MBNF, of course, stands for Max Büsse and Friends. Max Büsse is an industry veteran who worked for a long time for Jaeger-LeCoultre and then led the watch division of Harry Winston, spearheading especially the horologically ambitious projects within the Opus series, which included and which in fact set off with a collaboration with none other than François Paul Jean. This friend of Max Büsse, however, is Stephen McDonnell. And Stephen McDonnell is the same person who designed both the perpetual calendar and the sequential, the very, very special chronograph movement for Max Büsse. And those have been perhaps even bigger hits. This, however, is the Legacy Machine split escapement in a 44 millimeter 18 karat pink gold case with a dial that is itself fashioned out of gold, out of pink gold with a frosted finish. The piece comes with a presentation box, though not with its papers, but there is a certified pre-owned paperwork that confirms a service from 2018 and an additional 2-year warranty that starts on July 7th, 2022. So I think that's a good value, especially when it comes with very special watches such as MBNF legacy machines, which I'm sure you can't easily trust to any odd watchmaker. So having a service history and having a recent service which includes a warranty that's still relevant. That's very good. Number 3 of 18 pieces only. As you can see, the movement 2 is fashioned out of pink gold, finished in a magnificent manner with a number of interior angles and deep anglage cut on the bridge plates as well. And as mentioned, signed by Stephen McDonnell, who designed the split escapement movement for Max Büsser. This is lot number 4 for the MBNF Legacy Machine split escapement, with a pre-auction estimate of $60,000 to $90,000 in US dollars. Lot number 5 is one of my favorite sports watches that I will never be able to get and never be able to wear. You guys know my fascination with the Roger Dubuis Easy Diver, especially the version with the flying tourbillon. The De Bethune DB22 is another sports watch that I cannot dare to even imagine wearing because of its size. This beautiful piece is 48 millimeters in diameter, and I have tried it on in the past once or twice, even with all the design cues that De Bethune has, which makes their watches wear much more comfortably and much more elegantly than the sheer numbers would suggest on paper. 48 millimeters for this is still way too big. 18 karat white gold, matched with an 18 karat white gold pin buckle. The piece comes with its box and papers, one of 50 examples. This is number 5. The dial itself is fashioned out of titanium with blue titanium details, which includes the exposed bolts. Of course, the hands for the hour and minutes, and the unique grill or grid like power indication at 12 o'clock, kind of like a vampiric signature, or buck teeth perhaps. G. Gadwa, who is a member of the channel, is becoming nostalgic. Sotheby's auctions the Nike SBs I had and have now, pretty wild, right? It's a turning point when you realize things that you wear and enjoy have become collectible. Those of us who have been in the world of watches for a little longer than some others remember that it wasn't cool, it wasn't collectible, certainly not an investment, and we have lived through that transformation, and I don't think there's any going back. Of course, the watch market has its vicissitudes, and it will continue to have the ups and downs and ebbs and flows. But I think watches have made it to the mainstream, and they're going to stay there for quite some time. Of course, nothing beats Father Time, as you know. Perhaps that might even change before we leave this earth. But nevertheless, I think it's going to be um, an important fixture in popular culture, and it's really just getting started. Um, just seeing, the kind of celebrities, young and old, old school celebrities like movie stars, new celebrities like very young streamers, TikTok stars. You start seeing mechanical watches on everyone's wrist again. And it's, again, it's only just getting started. This model actually, even though De Bethune every year starts to talk about, this is our first sports watch. This is the first time this is, this is one of the first times we take, a stab at the sports watch concept. Actually, the DB22 is kind of the granddaddy of them all. But since it is quite different from the way they make their cases now, I think it's something that has kind of slipped through the cracks and forgotten about, which also means, by the way, the DB22 is also the De Bethune watch that is seemingly undervalued on the market. Now, that might not mean much, right? It's not a steal by any means, but I have seen some great deals on them in the past, around $30,000, and the estimated value is 15 to 30,000 here. Of course, there is going to be a premium involved. For those of us who are in the US, since this auction is actually in New York City, at least you don't have to deal with importation in terms of the dues and additional taxes it might generate. But of course, there's going to be certainly additional charges on the hammer price. But keeping that in mind, if you like the style, and I love it, lot number 5 would be something to keep an eye on. Granted, you'll have to be able to pull off a 48 millimeter piece. De Bethune DB22 with an estimated value of 15 to 30,000 in US dollars. Something a little more conventional with a little more mainstream appeal. You're looking at the previous generation of the Patek Philippe Nautilus Jumbo, the famous sporty, elegant watch, also designed by Gérard Jantin and first introduced in 1976 as the 3700. This is 5711, which marked the return of the Nautilus Jumbo in stainless steel, and later on in pink gold as well, with a very interesting gradient dial, which I think is actually the highlight of the piece. Quite a chameleon, because it's it can certainly seem like a chocolatey brown almost from certain angles and in certain kinds of lighting, and switch to all kinds of different shades of gray and even khaki in other lights as well. Of course, on the full matching integrated bracelets with an exhibition case back. From 2017. These were introduced in Baselworld in 2015 as an addition, as a counterpart to 5711 A, to put it in a very shorthand way, the stainless steel version. And over the years, of course, with the explosion of interest in anything and everything Nautilus, they were one of the first models to skyrocket in terms of the price point on the secondary market after the stainless steel, with the 5712, the complications, and even reduced sized versions quickly following suit. Lot number 7 for this 5711R, full set from 2017, and a pre-auction estimated value of 100,000 to 200,000 US dollars. Speaking of complicated Nautiluses that have attracted a lot of interest, you're looking at the 5980 Line 1A, which is quite a beast, a very different creature, I must say, than what the Nautilus represents to most of us, because this is a thick boy. It is also slightly larger in terms of case size too. But of course, that case houses a self-winding flyback chronograph with the unique single crosshair style chronograph register, which shows can you hear me? Right. What was I saying? there's a single counter, a single chronograph register, which combines at the very center a 12-hour counter and a 60-minute totalizer, which counts 0 to 30 on the perimeter and 30 to 60 inscribed in red in a concentric circle that wraps around the counter, the subdial for the hour counter. Of course, there's a date window at 3, a centrally deployed chronograph, seconds hand, as well as, of course, the classic look of a gradient blue or black and blue dial for the Nautilus. This stainless steel flyback chronograph, encased in the iconic design, the Nautilus, has a pre-auction estimate of 60 to 90,000 US dollars. Hey, Captain Kirk, how are you doing, man? Off on Smash. Yeah, I can see it. I can see it. Sorry, man, my eye is messed up. So, but it's getting better finally, and I think by tomorrow, perhaps even, I may finally remove the glasses. So enjoy it while it lasts. Let's take a vibe check here. What do we think about the Aquanaut on the matching bracelets? I've always, yeah, I don't like it at all. I've always found it a little off-putting. I feel like the Aquanaut belongs, especially with the jumbo generation 5167. I think it belongs to the rubber band, which is so beautifully integrated to the design, sitting flush with the case, with the lugs, with that pattern that mimics so closely the globescape pattern on the dial. I feel it just fits the design better. Whereas the bracelets, even with the earlier designs as well, just doesn't offer anything original or particularly unique to the design. So it kind of falls flat. This is an example from 2013. So about 10 years old, comes with its box and papers. I like how they subtly integrated the Tiffany blue into the background. That's a selling point for anything and everything nowadays, as you guys know. But of course, not bearing any sort of signature on the dial, this is certainly not a Patek that was retailed by the famous New York-based house. Lot number 9 for Patek Philippe Aquanaut, reference 5167, line 1A, meaning that it comes on the matching bracelets with a pre-auction estimate of 25,000 to 40,000. Sam Davidson, please hit the like button, by the way. All right. I love this. I love that my audience shares my opinion. I don't like it, to be honest. Captain, who is a member of the channel as well, says awful. G. Gadwa says rubber. We like rubber. I mean, it's served me well. I'm almost 40, still perfectly childless. So I'm grateful to rubber. Sam Davidson, honestly, it details his disliking. I don't really like any Pateks on a bracelet unless it's an Nautilus. See, we might disagree with on that a little bit. I like the 5960 line 1A, stainless steel on the beads of rice style bracelets. I think that's a great watch. That's a great look for a modern Patek. This one is not too shabby. Speaking of these kinds of bracelets, this is more like maybe grains of rice, a 5-link style bracelet that matches the white gold self-winding annual calendar here. As you guys know, Patek introduced their proprietary complication, or Patek introduced the annual calendar complication as their proprietary complication in 1996. And it was the 5035. What you're looking at right now is a 5036 line 1G white gold with the 5-link white gold matching bracelet, Roman numerals, railroad track for the minutes and seconds, for which you have the sweep center seconds hand, a very subtle, very discrete power reserve indicator at 12 o'clock, an opening for the moon phase indicator at 6 o'clock, right above the brand's signature, at date window at 6 o'clock exactly, and then at 9:30 you have a slightly oversized subdial for the day of the week, and at 2:30 you have the same for the month. Leaf styled hands for the hour and minutes, which are loomed just like the Roman numerals that serve as the hour markers. An exhibition case back, which offers you a glimpse onto the movements, which is just the good old caliber 315 as a base, since the calendrical complication, the module is on the dial side. There's not much of anything different to see here. This is lot number 10, white gold Patek annual calendar on a matching bracelet, reference 5036, with an estimated value of 20,000 to 30,000 US dollars. That's another one to look out for. You have a similar piece with the silvered opaline white dial at lots 11. Which comes without its papers, but with a Patek presentation box. And that has an estimated value of $20,000 to $40,000. when you want a good deal for Patek Philippe, always go for the oddly shaped case. There are certain exceptions, but for the most part, this can hold through true for the most part. Um, and that's why we go to lot number 12, which is the Gondolo Calendario, an annual calendar with a moon phase indicator served up in the Gondolo case, stylized Arabic numerals at 3 and 9, a 24-hour hand, which essentially serves as a day and night indicator, and compasses the opening for the moon phase indicator. And you have those three apertures that are respectively at 10 o'clock for the day of the week, for the date at 12 o'clock, and 2 o'clock for the month. The Dauphine styled hands and the center sweep second hand, not to mention the other fixtures on the dial match the yellow gold of the case. This is a reference 5135. If you were wondering about the dimensions of the case, they would be 39 by 52. And the piece comes with its original materials, box and papers, as well as all the presentation materials and the product literature that goes with it. And an additional Patek tang buckle in matching 18 karat gold, the setting pin, because this watch actually has the folding clasp that bears the Calatrava cross, as you can see here. And here is a glimpse onto the self-winding movement, which has a full gold rotor weight that itself bears the sign of the Calatrava cross. I'm a big fan of a lot of different iterations of the gondola. Give me the 8-day, give me the tourbillon, give me just about anything. And I like the gondola calendario as well. And you might as well, if you want an annual calendar, you might as well get it from Patek. And this is one of the best deals that they actually have on the secondary market, lot number 12, with an estimated value of 15 to 25,000 US dollars. This is the Patek Philippe reference 5135J. The same piece in white gold, which has once again its original box and papers, including the product literature. Remember, these pieces also coming from the pre-2009 era, which is the pivotal year where where Patek transitioned from the hallmark of Geneva to using their own Patek Philippe seal on their movements. So for those of you who care about such details, who care about the heritage of the seal of the Canton of Geneva or the hallmark of Geneva on Patek's work, would be interested in picking up examples like this. This is the 5135G, the Gondolo Calendario in white gold from around 2005, with an estimated value of 25 to 45,000 US dollars. It does. The Gondolo Calendario wears, well, I mean, it kind of wears like my Reverso Grand Date, which is a big watch for a Reverso, right? You know, it doesn't really wear overwhelmingly big, but it has a lot of presence. But yes, best always to try it. Number 14 is actually one of my favorite Patek Perpetual calendars ever. I really like the 36 millimeter case size that comes with the 39,000, you know, or 3900, I should say, that series, whether we are talking about the 3970, which is the Perpetual calendar chronograph, of course, or the 3940 that you see here, not to mention, of course, 5004, which is an absolute grail of a watch, the legendary Perpetual calendar split-second chronograph. Here you're looking at, again, pure mastery in the miniaturized form of a 36 millimeter wristwatch with a silvered opaline white dial, obus-shaped applied indices, Dauphine styled hands. The date, the pointer date at 6 o'clock wraps around the aperture for the moon phase indicator. You have the subtly recessed subdials for the month at 3 o'clock, which also includes the leap year indicator, and the day of the week at 9 o'clock, which it has an additional 24-hour hand serving as the day and night indicator. You can see the subtle difference in shades within or between the two halves of that 24-hour subdial. This is the 3940p in platinum. You see how sleek and elegant this case is. Solid case back. The set includes the winder box, not to mention the outer packaging, the leather bifold wallet, and the certificate of origin, but also the setting pin. On a leather band, you have also the matching tang buckle, as well as an alternative déployant buckle. Either my neighbors are having some activity, or We just had an earthquake. Both are possible. And look at that. A certificate of origin signed by the almighty Philippe Stern. It's beautiful. A 3940p at lot 14 with a pre-auction estimate of 60,000 to 90,000 US dollars. I'm sending the link for the auction again. If you guys would like me to take a look at anything well ahead or anything that I skipped, if you want me to take a closer look at any of the lots for you, feel free to send in the lot number with a super chat, and I will be more than happy to dive right in for you. Captain says, member of the channel, these are perfection, but regrettably 36 millimeter is too small for me. Well, that's another kind of problem to have, and I respect that. Unfortunately, not my problem. Number 15, by the way, is one of my favorite Calatravas of all time. You're looking at the 5196P. It is an incredibly thin watch too. Very sleek, very small by contemporary tastes, but absolutely beautiful. 37 millimeters and just 8 millimeters in thickness. This is the platinum version, as I mentioned, with a two-tone silver dial, applied Breguet numerals, feuille hands, a beaded minute track, and a separate subdial for the seconds at 6 o'clock. Fantastic piece. Again, something that is a sculpture in miniature, as it were. Just the perfect size. Here with, as an absolute full set. This is lot number 15 for a reference 5196P platinum Calatrava with a two-tone silver dial and applied Breguet numerals. Pre-auction estimate is 15 to 25,000 US dollars. Another great deal in Patek Philippe watches, although a model that's not incredibly desired. I kind of like it. Certainly not enough to have seriously sought it out. But if you like the complication and if you like the simple Calatrava shape, you might find something of value in this reference, 5134, which is a classic Calatrava dual time, or rather travel time, as Patek calls it. with the two additional pushers on the left band of the case, which allow you to move the additional local hour hands back and forth in terms of 1 hour increments. There is an additional 24-hour subdial at 12 o'clock and a small seconds at 6 applied Breguet numerals for this beautiful pink gold case. This is from around 2002. So when you see this hand-wound caliber, which is built on the base of caliber 215, you will notice the Geneva seal, the hallmark of Geneva. And again, a classically sized timepiece that is 37 millimeters in diameter and looks slightly bigger thanks to those extra pushers. This particular example does come with its original certificate, but also an archival extract, which confirms both the date of the manufacture and the sale in year 2002. The 5134 is the reference number for the Calatrava travel time. And this is the pink gold case, which is matched, as you can see, with a pink gold déployant clasp in this particular example. This is the set you would be getting if you were the winning, if you submitted the winning bid for lot 17, for which we have a pre-auction estimate of 12 to 18,000 in US dollars. The alternative is the yellow gold version of the same reference. Once again, there's your hallmark of Geneva. Here's the set you would be getting. Much later piece. But still at that threshold. Apparently retailed by Tiffany's. I can't really see that on the certificate of origin that is presented here. I cannot see it on the dial either. There are unsigned watches that were retailed by Tiffany's, but it is such a shame because if there's something slightly imperfect about this watch, it is the balance of the dial. Tiffany and Company signature right about here would have actually been perfect for that. It would have balanced the brand signature just absolutely perfectly. This is lot number 20 for a 5134J, which has an estimated value of 12 to 18,000 in US dollars. Okay, the last Patek for quite some time, but I would be remiss if I didn't talk about this beautiful World Time, which is a 5110R. Beautiful barleycorn guilloche motif at the center on the silver dial. Classic 24-hour ring around that center, which is divided into silver for day and navy for the night, with the sun at noon and the crescent at midnight, and the 24-hour ring in the old school style, which still includes Hong Kong. This is a piece from, of course, around 2005, so that makes absolute sense. Of course, as with many beautiful Patek World Time watches, this piece has a micro rotor caliber that is based on number 240, which in this case bears the hallmark of Geneva, as well as you can see here, as well as a micro rotor weight that is fashioned out of gold, finished nicely and embossed with the Calatrava cross. Another 37 millimeter case in pink gold with the matching 18 karat pink gold Patek Philippe déployant clasp. This is the 5110R, which is the Patek World Time in pink gold, which allows you to travel the world one push button at a time at 10 o'clock. Lot 21 is perhaps a divisive design by Alan Gonzune. Alan Gonzune's technical director, Tony De Haas, has famously said, we don't make rectangular watches anymore because it's difficult to sell them unless you are called Cartier or Jaeger-LeCoultre. I think he has a point, but of course, there's a conflict of interest there too, since all these three brands belong to the same luxury group, Richemont, and whatever it is, it may be a corporate directive or genuinely a concern of not wanting to impinge on other brands' territories within that structure. Alain Gonzune doesn't really produce cabaret, or for that matter, the more rounded shape that formed the original quartet, that formed a piece of that originary puzzle, namely the arcade. Both of these designs, as their names might also indicate, carry elements of an Art Deco design. In this case, there is that oversized date indicator at 6, which has become part of Alan Gonzune's visual design language, which was one of the earliest videos that I made for this channel. If you want to check that out at some point, almost a year old now, that video, but still, I think, very interesting and quite relevant. Hey, Fries. Have a beautiful day in Geneva. A stunning black dial with applied Roman numerals at the quarters, diamond-shaped, multifaceted indices for the rest of the markers, classic alpha-styled hands. All of these, of course, match the pink gold tones of the case. Small seconds at 6. The case is beautifully contoured. For better or worse, on this watch, you don't have an additional pusher to correct the oversized date. You just have a very discreet one by the crown, which you can manipulate with a setting pin or even with a toothpick. Be careful, of course, you don't want to sneak chips of wood or other nasty stuff into the movement. And of course, as is very much part of Lange's tradition, you have a movement that is conceived, designed, shaped, and formed for the case, rectangular movement for the rectangular case, with the 3/4 plate out of German silver, copper, nickel, zinc, patinates beautifully, as you know, over time, taking on even a stronger yellowish hue, a champagne-like tint, with all the other exquisite details like heat blued screws, the rubies that are set in gold chaton, a swan neck regulator which sits beautifully on a freehand engraved balance cock as well. This Alan Gonzune Arcade actually comes with a presentation box and ostensibly with a certificate of origin, even though that is not noted in the listing. So I wonder if that's just that's just a retailer's certificate. So not the original papers of the watch, but it's better than nothing, I guess. Here is another deal. I'm not saying that it will necessarily end within the confines of this estimate, but the Cabaret is one of the better deals for Lange watches. Once again, if you're into the relatively unusual shape, a rectangular watch is not really unusual, but you probably know what I mean. At least for Alan Gonzune, it's relatively uncommon. The dimensions are beautiful too, 25.5 by 43. which you can say is pretty similar in terms of the size to Reverso's Grand Thai, the enlarged contemporary case, which has been with us since the early 90s, since the design celebrated its 60th anniversary. The pre-auction estimate is 8 to 12,000 US dollars for lot 21, which is an Alangonzune Cabaret 107031 in pink gold. Skipping over quite a bit. Perhaps some interesting stuff for others. Feel free to send in the lot number if you're interested. I'm going to white gold Daytona with the racing dial. You're looking at the 116509 white gold on the matching white gold oyster bracelets with a racing dial, so-called, which in this case means Arabic numerals radially placed around the dial as our markers, with the coronet at 12 o'clock, white dial with black outer rings on the chronograph registers, and red hands, which includes all the register hands for the chronograph, as well as the centrally deployed chronograph seconds hand. Of course, as you have been already alerted by the reference number and by the placement of the continuously running seconds dial, you know this is an in-house movement. This is a watch powered by caliber 4130 with the case bank sticker intact and a case that looks in a very healthy condition. Once again, with the retailer's certificate of origin, so to speak, including some product literature and a random hang tag, as well as a Rolex presentation box. This is lot 33 for a Rolex Cosmographic Daytona, reference 116509. White gold on the matching bracelets with the racing dial in white. The pre-auction estimate is 25 to 45 in US dollars. The Daytona Beach, perhaps. Oh, no, this is not the Daytona Beach. My apologies. This is the pink version of the previous, of the Zenith Daytona. As you can see, the placement of the numbers is very different. This is not the racing dial, so to speak, but a dial with applied Arabic numerals, a mother of pearl face with a pink tint and a matching pink leather strap on which it is presented. Of course, the watch also has a matching white gold déployant clasp. This is the 16519, meaning it is a Daytona chronograph that belongs to the generation which were powered by caliber 4030, which in turn was based on the Zenith El Primero 400. You guys know I really love the balance of the design with the perfect alignment of the chronograph registers. And as you guys know, I like things a little older, a little more broken in. So serves, checks a lot of boxes. This particular piece has actually its service papers from July of last year. So very recently serviced, even though it is originally from 1997. The piece has an estimated value of 25 to 45,000 in US dollars. A white gold Zenith Daytona with a pink mother of pearl dial presented on the leather strap with a matching déployant clasp. Lot number 34. Speaking of Zenith Daytonas, here is a classic version from around the same time period. We're looking at the reference 16520, stainless steel, white dial with the black outer rings. This is such an iconic model, such a graceful presentation that when Rolex was celebrating the 60th anniversary of the model, they wanted to copy a lot of the elements of this style, which was, of course, the first self-winding Daytona. Remember, 2023 is also the 35th anniversary of the first automatic Daytona. So it made sense for them to take a little bit off the Zenith Daytona, take a little bit off the 4-digit Daytonas, the hand-wound Daytonas that had those beautiful bakelite bezel rings that were bakelite bezels that were inserted into those rings made out of the same material as the case. Here, of course, for the Zenith Daytona, you have simply a stainless steel bezel for the tachometer. From 1997, without box and papers, so the watch arrives naked and is sold as lot 36 with a pre-auction estimate of 12,000 to 18,000 US dollars. JB, a member of the channel. Hey now. This one is just right. Young Brando recommended, approved, and experienced. Hey, I'm so happy that you got that watch, and it's is beautiful in your collection. It is absolutely a killer on your wrist as well. I'm so glad you're enjoying it. Let me see. We're looking at lot 43, which is a Rolex date. It's an Oyster Perpetual date, reference 1503. The watch has a 34 millimeter 18 karat yellow gold case, and it is presented on a matching oyster bracelet, riveted style in 18 karat yellow gold. Beautiful patina on the dial, even though it is slightly uneven in patches. A fluted bezel, which looks quite crisp for the age of the watch, from around 1967. And an estimate that makes this piece even more attractive as it is elegant. We're looking at lot 43, which is a Rolex Oyster Perpetual date, reference 1503, in 18 karat yellow gold case and oyster bracelets in riveted style. And again, with a pre-auction estimate of 4,000 to 8,000 in US dollars. As I grab my fresh water, I'm going to leave you with this Rolex Prince, which has a dial which shows its age, which is rather weathered, but this is a beautiful watch, also remembered as the doctor's watch. In its modern iteration, it wasn't so popular as part of the Cellini range and was discontinued. However, it remains one of the most interesting recent Rolexes that have prophetically announced some of the things to come from Rolex, right? Like exhibition casebacks, for example. Decorated movements that actually echoed with the patterns represented on the dials of the watches, which were very unique from one material variation to another, even though some variations of materials had more than one dial design. But that's beside the point. Let me grab my drink. Please hit the like button while you're at it. Love you all. Stay with me. All right, I'm back. I am back. I think we're gonna do it again. We're gonna do a 4-hour today. So we are about a little more than, yeah, almost halfway done. Almost halfway done. Let's go through this auction. I think I can do it. This is Rolex's Art Deco design, a beautifully rectangular and contoured case shape, which separates out the dial for the hour and minutes from a sub dial for seconds, facilitating the reading of seconds, of course, hence that doctor's watch moniker, but also that subdial for seconds, which is right outside of the main dial, tangentially touching it, is also shaped like a sun, right? Which is a very central element in Art Deco aesthetics, of course. So it makes absolute sense that you would have a dial design like this. This piece is from around 1926. Admittedly, not in a pristine condition, but of historical interest nonetheless. 22.5 by 42 millimeters in size. This is a 9-carat yellow gold case. Lot 45 for a Rolex Prince reference 1490 in 9-carat yellow gold and an estimated value of 4,000 to 6,000 in US dollars. Again, the case is in decent condition. The dial is certainly weathered and shows the century it has basically gone through, but still an interesting piece at lot 45. And this, I need to tell you, is a no reserve lot. So the bidding will start in about 9 hours, I think, at $1. So good luck. Lot 45 is another one to keep an eye on. Lot 46 is, again, a very desirable Rolex chronograph. Again, not necessarily in the best condition, but it does come from the family of the original owner. One Sergeant Dale Hildebrand. This is the famous Monoblocco, a stainless steel Rolex chronograph with the reference number 3525. World War II era. A stainless steel case in 35 millimeters of diameter. The piece is powered by Valjoux 23 based mechanical hand wound chronograph movements, classic 2-register layout with a 30-minute totalizer at 3 o'clock, continuous running seconds at 6, heat blued hands, syringe hands for hour and minutes, Arabic numerals for the hour markers. This is the Rolex Monoblocco reference 3525 at lot 46 with an estimated value of 15,000 to 25,000 in US dollars. Hey, Artie, how are you doing, man? Captain, are you a Jets fan? Important question. Captain. Unfortunately, I know absolutely nothing about football, but I always love it when people talk about football in the chat. So please do. We're looking at a classic Rolex GMT Master, small arrow, beautiful piece, reference 1675, a faded bezel insert for the 24 hours in the classic colors. People fondly remember it as Pepsi. I have a soft spot for GMT Masters matched with Jubilee bracelets. I think this is a quite cool example of that. Gilt dial with a chapter ring from around 1960. The piece has an estimated value of 20 to 30,000 US dollars. That was lot 48 for a Rolex GMT Master reference 1675 on a Jubilee bracelet, stainless steel. Lot 47 is a very interesting Hoya chronograph, retailed by Abercrombie and Fitch. This is a Seafarer. This is an interesting concept and a watch developed for Abercrombie and Fitch by Hoya. Not that I would know anything about it, but I guess one way of calling this or defining it as a specific kind of sports watch is that it is a watch for the fisherman, kind of giving you an idea when it would be the best time to fish. with title tables that I would absolutely have no idea how to read. Instead of the running seconds dial, there's a title indicator at 9 o'clock as a register. And the watch, in addition to its original complication, much like the skipper, also allows for a kind of unique dash of color and a quirky sense of design in its element, of course, in the 60s. A stainless steel Hoya chronograph from early 60s, based on caliber 721 by Valjoux, made for Abercrombie and Fitch with the additional title indicator in a 36 millimeter stainless steel case. This is the Hoya Abercrombie, Hoya times Abercrombie and Fitch, reference 2444, the Seafarer. The case back is inscribed Marsh from Ed, with a date as well, June 12th, 1963. This was lot 47 with an estimated value of 15 to 25,000 US dollars. Captain says, and as a member of the channel, Captain says, yes, and I met Ati Lange. It's amazing. I love that nick, by the way. I mean, it's so beautiful. Ati Lange und Söhne. There are, by the way, some fascinating pocket watches. A Patek Philippe World Time from around, oh, that's a wall clock. Sorry about that. It is styled like their classic world timers. Of course, it's just an aesthetic, but could be a nice decoration for someone. I can think of one particular person within our community, of course. That's Jamie Opulence. This should be for him. The pricing is a little insane, but nevertheless, lot 50 is a Patek Philippe wall clock in gilt brass, styled like their traditional world timers, with an estimated value of 15 to 30,000 US dollars, 40 centimeters in diameter. That was lot 50. There's some beautiful pocket watches, including one that was made by Patek Philippe with applied Breguet numerals and Breguet styled hands, open face from 1940, a post-war Vacheron Constantin with a two-tone silver dial, an IWC from 1990 with a graph paper dial, What a beautiful and original design. A pocket watch version of the Ingenieur with those famous recesses on the bezel and the graph paper dial that takes after some of the visual cues of Gérard Janta's original design, which appeared, of course, right around the same time as the Nautilus. This is an IWC reference 5215. I have never seen this watch before. Very intriguing. A pocket watch version of the Ingenieur from around 1990. Open-faced in stainless steel, 50 millimeters in diameter. Very, very cool indeed. And no reserve lots. Lot 54 has a pre-auction estimate of 2,000 to 4,000 in US dollars. Lot 51 is a classic yellow gold pocket watch by Patek Philippe. A silver dial with applied Breguet numerals, Breguet styled hands, small seconds, a watch that was once retailed and co-signed on the dial by Tiffany and Company. The watch is from around 1940. And at lot number 51, it has a pre-auction estimate of 4,000 to 6,000 in US dollars. Initialed on the case back. Look at that movement. Wow. So beautiful. Those broad Geneva stripes on the bridge plates is enough to, I think, fall in love with a piece like this. This is lot 51, a Patek Philippe pocket watch with Breguet numerals and Breguet hands, once retailed and co-signed on the dial by Tiffany and Company from around 1940, an estimated value of 4,000 to 6,000 in US dollars. Yeah, everybody loves a Pepsi. Pepsis are great. I'm a fan of Coke, but Pepsis are great as well, especially in that 4-digit iteration. You are looking at lot 53, which is a Vacheron Constantin pocket watch from the immediate post-war era. Open-faced, keyless, and with a two-tone silver dial, 45 millimeters in diameter, 18 karat yellow gold. Arabic numerals alternate with baton markers for the hours. And a subsidiary dial for seconds at 6 o'clock with a sector style. Here you can see the inside of the case back with its perlage finish with a very warm patina. The case back, and here's a look at the movement, which, as good as it looks, probably makes you appreciate that Patek we were looking at even more. This is lot number 53, Vacheron Constantin yellow gold pocket watch, 45 millimeters with a two-tone silver dial from around 1946. This is also a no reserve lot. Bidding will start at $1. The piece has an estimated value of $2,000 to $4,000 US dollars. This is great. As you guys know, the Chopard 1860 was very niche when it came out, and for quite some time, it genuinely didn't really take off. It took decades, perhaps, for it to be appreciated a certain way. One of the most, I have to say, one of the most iconic takes on a classic Calatrava-styled dress watch with a beautiful guilloche detail at the center, executed by Metallum. Of course, that manufacturer now is owned by Karl Friedrich Schäufele, who owns the brand. This is a version of the 1860 with a factory diamond set bezel, which makes the white gold case look even more distinguished. You might know that the Chopard LUC 1860 was one of the big hits to come out of Watches and Wonders 2023 this year. They chose to re-release it, reissue it with a beautiful salmon dial to match the stainless steel case. Which actually is in their lucent steel, largely recycled. Here's the reissue, which dispenses with the date window, kind of shifts around the pattern of the guilloche, making it emanate from that plaque, which carries the signature of the brand. But you can see how closely it's influenced by that design. And here is a very particular version of the original, which is executed in white gold with a guilloche silver dial, multifaceted dagger-shaped indices for the hours, Dauphine hands, factory diamond set bezel, small seconds on the subdial at 6, and a date window at 6 as well. Very, very beautiful watch with the classic micro rotor movements, caliber 196, which was designed by Michel Parmigiani for Chopard. And as you can see, it is here finished, assembled, and regulated to the standards that deserve the hallmark of Geneva. Lot number 85 for Chopard, 1860, 36 millimeters in white gold with a diamond set bezel. The piece has an estimated value of 5,000 to 7,000 in US dollars. Should go for much more. Yeah, I am kind of taken by the discussion now in the chat, because that so-called Surti Smurf is one of my favorites as well. Here's an example. I remember I had seen it in an auction recently. I can't quite find that, but let me see. Let's see. There we go. It looks something like this, which is a little more simplified way of executing the so-called Certi or Certi dial, right? You know, just the round diamonds, and you leave the luminous material at the quarters, rather than combining it with either sapphire or rubies, which are baguettes cut for 6 and 9 and triangular for 12. Hey, French fry. How are you doing, man? Nice to see you. And good morning to you as well. So yeah, this lot 85 is something to keep an eye on, but I feel that even though it starts at no reserve and has a pretty low estimate, this is one of the watches that will probably go slightly over, or perhaps well over, the estimate. The only reason I'm waffling a little bit is because I never know how diamond set bezels would hit. I think this is a classic watch. It is a great look, would look great on a man, would look great on a woman, and it's even more rare than the non-diamond set version. But the final price will depend on people in the room, so to speak. I don't know. I would grab it if I would be interested in one of the original LUC Chopard 1860s. I think this beautiful example. Oop, where did we go? All the way. So that was lot 85. We can never have enough Royal Oaks. So let's look at this gorgeous trio, starting with lot 94. This is a reduced sized 29 millimeter ladies piece in stainless steel. Petite tapisserie dial with the initial logo at 12 o'clock in Jacqueline Dimier's rendition of Janta's design for a feminine wrist. This is lot 94 with a self-winding movement as well, which is quite impressive. Again, this is a 29 millimeter version of it with an estimated value of $6,000 to $9,000 US dollars. In an interesting fashion, they have not provided the reference number of this particular watch, but I believe it is 4100 SA. This is the AP Royal Oak reduced sized with the self-winding movements and in a two-tone execution from 1990. Should be 4100. since it's around 35 millimeters and with a slightly thinner bezel. Because 14790, which comes a little later, also has a more defined octagonal bezel as well, as well as a slightly larger case. This is lot 96 with an estimated value of $10,000 to $15,000 for a reduced sized two-tone AP Royal Oak with a self-winding movement from 1990, roughly speaking. You're looking at Cartier Santos 100. This is a piece that Cartier launched in 2004 to celebrate the centenary of the design, which Louis Cartier designed for his friend, the gentleman pilot Alberto Santos Dumont. Of course, the watch was commercialized later, but the design dates back to 1904, and it is the first native man's wristwatch, so to speak. So an important event to celebrate, I have to say. The Santos 100 has very nice dimensions and an interesting presence on the wrist, 39 by 51. Here in stainless steel with a self-winding movement, perfect three-hander with sword styled hands and a sweep center seconds hand, elongated and stylized Roman numerals on a silvered dial, classic Cartier aesthetic. As you guys probably know, if you listen to this channel, but I will repeat, the exposed screws on the bezel harken back to those rivets on the plates of classic planes, just like the Demoiselle of Alberto Santos Dumont. Multifaceted spinel that tops off the crown. And as you can see, the quote-unquote integration of the bracelets, of the band, I should say, of the leather band is done pretty nicely as well. Santos 100, I think, is a cool piece to keep track of if you like the design, because they are relatively affordable as well. Not necessarily within the bounds of this auction. As you guys know, I mostly use auctions as a way of informing and educating my audience without necessarily highlighting one auction house over another, or without necessarily rubber stamping or approving any particular lots. But it is a great opportunity for us to learn about specific kinds of references, or watches or models or even sometimes brands that we don't necessarily pay attention to and that we can certainly integrate into our collective search engine, into our keywords when we're looking up for watches, shopping online. And Santos 100 is certainly something you can find good deals on quite often. And it is the reference 2656 Santos 100 in stainless steel from around 2015 at lot 98 with an estimated value of 3,000 to 5,000 in US dollars. I will go for about another hour until midnight. Thank you so much for your support. I hope you all stay with me and maybe more people will trickle in from the UK and continental Europe and beyond. But please hit the like button if you haven't done so already. It helps immensely, as you guys know. This is a small fry channel, and I really appreciate all kinds of support that you give me. We're looking at some beautiful perpetual calendars. We already kind of looked at Breguet. Of course, I will go into detail momentarily, but I actually want to start with something slightly unusual. This is Glashütte Original Senator perpetual calendar. Should have gone all the way and said ewiger Kalender. I think this is a beautiful piece, very unusual, unique look. I think because it has some elements of a classic pilot's watch, maybe a little more streamlined. It is perhaps not the most legible perpetual calendar, but then again, it has a very balanced design. It is very discreet, and it has the moon phase indicator, which I can't do without. I can't do without that romantic complication when it comes to perpetual calendars. Arabic numerals for hour markers, lozenge shaped or diamond shaped heat blued hands, which are also generously loomed for hour and minutes. The Glashütte Original signature is balanced at 3 o'clock with the Glashütte in Sachsen provenance at 9 o'clock. Right under 10 o'clock, you have the aperture for the day of the week, and right under 2 o'clock, you have that for the month. The panorama date, the oversized date, is right over 5 o'clock. And between 7 and 8 o'clock, you have an opening for the moon phase indicator. You're looking once again at lots 101 for the Sotheby's New York City Fine Watches auction, for which the bidding will start in about 9 hours, if I'm not mistaken, and will go on until September 15th. This piece is executed in stainless steel and has a self-winding movement and a very unique styling for a perpetual calendar. Leap year indicator at 12 o'clock as well. Here is a look onto the self-winding movements, which you can observe, which you can contemplate through the exhibition case back. The piece also has 5 atmos of a depth rating, 50 meters of water resistance, a little more than the standard splash-proof 30 meters of a dress watch, which is a nice addition for sure. This particular piece also comes with its original box and papers. Box, outer packaging, travel pouch, seemingly, and the product literature as well. Hands, knees, and toes. Nice to see you, man. Peace be with you too, Hans. I love your sense of humor, including the very name, of course. Another no reserve lot at 102 is the Breguet Classique reference 3310. Amazing platinum perpetual calendar in that quote unquote empire style case, round with extended teardrop style lugs, 36 millimeters with an entirely fluted case band. Of course, a silver dial produced out of a gold blank, hand guilloché with various patterns, Roman numerals on a Breguet frosted track, Breguet styled hands, or palm shaped, apple shaped, a power reserve indicator, leap year indicator, moon phase indicator. Perhaps not the most simplified execution, perhaps not the cleanest perpetual calendar dial that you have seen, but Breguet through and through, a sapphire cabochon on the crown. Very elegant piece, 36 millimeters again, classic sizing. Look at those perfect teardrop lugs. Solid case back. Which shows, minor signs. Maybe the watch was polished perhaps once, which may be a shame, but we have seen worse. This is lot 102 for Breguet Platinum Perpetual Calendar, reference 3310. With an estimated value of 10 to 15. But of course, this is a no reserve lot, which means bidding will start at $1. We have the same watch in yellow gold. which I think actually looks also quite nice. An interesting interplay between the heat blued elements as well as the sapphire cabochon on the crown and the yellow gold case. There's a slight and very warm patina forming on this gold case. Very charming watch, very beautiful piece. Also, similarly, presented with an old school coffin styled green Breguet box. 103 and no reserve lots with a pre-auction estimate of 10 to 15,000 US dollars. Same in pink gold. Which might be the best one yet. I mean, again, I like the platinum quite a bit, but this is in great condition. The case, a beautiful color, which is even nicer, I think, in its interplay with those heat blued hands on the dial, on the silvered hand guilloche dial. A complete masterpiece from those later years of Brothers Chomet, with the CEO François Baudet at the helm, but Daniel Roth pulling the strings as the master. The estimate is once again 10 to 15,000 US dollars for lot 104, which is Breguet 3310 Classique in pink gold. $105 is perhaps an even more appetizing watch for me. 3130. As I mentioned, this is one of those iconic references of Breguet's revival in that Daniel Roth era, with a style modeled after a pocket watch, namely number 5, designed by Abraham Louis Breguet himself, with a pointer date at 6 o'clock, which incidentally wraps around the 2 plaques with the signature of the brand and the number of the movement, respectively. A power reserve indicator at around 10:30. Between 1 and 2 o'clock, an aperture for the moon phase indicator. Again, a dial produced out of gold blank, silvered, and variously engine turned by hand with at least 3 different patterns, without mentioning the coin-edged styling that frames each and every sector of the dial. A Breguet frosted hour track with Roman numerals. Goes perfectly, of course, with Breguet styled hands. Of course, the Lange 1 is rightly recognized as opening an era for asymmetric dial watches. But even before that, there was Breguet Classique reference 3130, which was adapted, of course, from the world of pocket watches, but certainly was one of the pioneers in wristwatches with asymmetric dials. 105 is another no reserve lot, and it has an estimated value of 8,000 to 12,000 in US dollars. Speaking of Breguet watches with off-center dials, we are actually looking at a collection that was unveiled by Breguet in a very different era. In the Swatch Group era, with Nicholas Hayek at helm. Year 2005 was when the Tradition collection was introduced, and its aim was basically find a way of exhibiting the mechanism of this watch on the main plates in a very balanced fashion, even as even as they stayed true in terms of the design to the roots of Breguet. And of course, this essentially looks like the movements of a classic Breguet pocket watch with the addition of an off-center dial at 12 o'clock. There's a power reserve indicator as well, additionally. Just a beautiful panoply of colors, the ability to see the balance wheel pumping, the escapement doing its work, and all the gears turning. The off-center dial, of course, has all the calling cards of a classic Breguet dial. So it will still please you, even if it is in miniature form. This is the reference 737 in white gold. Which comes as a full set. Of course, one of the most beautiful things about this particular model is its hammer style winding rotor, which of course harkens back to that first perpetual pocket watch movement that Breguet designed with an automatic winding mechanism. Brilliant.
Lot 106, once again, is a no reserve lot. And the piece has a pre-auction estimate of 8,000 to 12,000 US dollars. $110 is a yellow gold Monaco. I don't know if it's just me. Please do write in the chat. But if I know they exist historically, even if it is in limited numbers. But I've always had a hard time adjusting to the sights of Monaco in precious metal, even though I have over time gotten very much used to seeing these iconic sports watches in precious metal cases. Maybe it's just me, but then again, let me know. This is from around year 2005 in 18 karat yellow gold. Tag Heuer Monaco, reference CW5140, with a silver dial, 3 registers, which includes also a date window at 6 o'clock. Lot 110 is a no reserve lot. Bidding will start at $1, and the piece has an estimated value of 3 to 5,000 in US dollars. Wow. Here's an Audemars Piguet that you don't see on everyone's wrist, yet is perhaps as representative of the house style as any royal oak in terms of how proudly and extravagantly and conspicuously it shows off the house specialty of open working, of skeletonization. Simple dress watch, if you can use that word, simple, in a 34.5 millimeter yellow gold case. Self-winding movements that you can see on the back with skeletonized and engraved rotor. You can see that the bridges of the movements are treated in a similar fashion. Once again, open worked and engraved. And the dial of the watch leaves nothing to imagination because it has the same treatment with both the balance wheel and the main barrel up, offered for your sight. And of course, seeing the mainspring barrel like that is a very cool thing. Even when it's a self-winding watch, you basically have an organic visualization of a power reserve indicator right there at 130. Amazing. This is lot 118 for a 70s piece, fully open worked dress watch by Audemars Piguet in yellow gold, 34.5 millimeters, self-winding, and those feuille hands are quite beautiful and legible as well. The pre-auction estimate is 7 to 11,000 in US dollars. Lot 119 is Gérard Janta perpetual calendar that the brand, of course, is seeing a revival and is being brought back by Louis Vuitton under the premises of their high horological workshop, La Fabrique du Temps, which brought us Daniel Roth back as well. That's a very exciting development. Apparently, they are also throwing a party in Geneva as part of Geneva Watch Days to celebrate this return, this homecoming, so to speak. It is a very exciting development. This particular piece, of course, bears a lot of interesting elements of Gérard Janta's design language. The octagonal case combines ship's wheel styled bezel, which is very much a nautical allusion. Gérard Janta loves that. You have a transparent slash open worked dial, which lays bare the mechanism. I have been, pardon me, mentioning a couple of times in this broadcast that the perpetual calendar module, the calendrical complications are usually on the dial side of the watch. So perfect, which makes them a perfect candidate for open working, transparent dials, or skeletonization, whatever you want to call it, even though they're, none of these are exactly the same thing, right? A transparent dial is not the same thing as skeletonization, especially in terms of its artfulness. You have also a beautiful element of a Gérard Janta perpetual calendar, which was carried over into Cartier Pasha perpetual calendars as well. After all, the Pasha is also a Janta design, is the lapis lazuli background for the moon phase. And I love the fact that the moon phase indicator is the focal point of this watch, being situated at 12 o'clock and also surrounded with a beautiful gold ring, which frames it. At 3 o'clock, we have a subdial for the indication of the month, which also circles around the leap year indicator. At 9 o'clock, the day of the week, and a pointer date at 6 o'clock. This case shape is called the Succès. Here it is in yellow gold on a matching bracelet. As you can see, the branding is inscribed on the case band. Of course, it was there, the triple G, Jarajanta Genève, on the lapis lazuli background of the moon phase indicator. And here you can see on the case back the actual work of skeletonization, which includes an open worked and beautifully decorated off-center rotor weights as well. All the bridges are beautifully open worked and hand engraved in that same style. This is lot 119. The case diameter is around 35 millimeters. The reference number is G25394 for this Jarajanta Succès perpetual calendar in yellow gold. Beautiful octagonal case with that ship's wheel bezel design as well on the matching bracelets, with an estimated value of $7,000 to $10,000 US at lot 119. I expect it to go for much higher, but then again, you never know. So this is one to keep an eye on for sure. The Jarajanta Succès perpetual calendar on lot 119 at this Sotheby's Fine Watches auction, for which the bidding will start soon and continue until September 15th. There's some interesting reversos and Blancpain too. Wow, some very, very beautiful pieces. So here we go. This is Reverso Réserve de Marche in pink gold, silvered guilloche dial with the power reserve indicator at 11 o'clock, small seconds, and heat blued hands, which are épée or sword styled for hour and minutes, and Arabic numerals for the hour markers. This is in the Kantai case size, 42 by 26. The pink gold case combines a matching beads of rice styled bracelets, which is really nice. The case back is simple, a blank canvas. If you ever wish to personalize it in some way, this is an interesting candidate. The Reverso Réserve de Marche. Says lot 125 with a pre-auction estimate of 7,000 to 10,000 in US dollars. The next one is actually a yellow gold version of a watch that I have in my collection. This is the Reverso Grande in yellow gold with a matching bracelet, with a matching 5-link bracelet. The piece is distinguished not only by the oversized dates display at 7 o'clock, but also with its mighty 8-day long power reserve when it's fully wound by hand. Incredible piece. I would highly recommend it. The case is even slightly larger than the Grantai, as you can see, 29 by 46.5. And the exhibition case back offers you a glimpse onto the 8-day power reserve movement, caliber 875, which has such a nice architectural design that carries the Art Deco inspiration of the watch all the way into the execution of its movement, with dual spring barrels, again, that holds an 8-day power reserve. Oh yeah, yeah. They do that. A lot of the auction houses and watch sellers do this trick to present the reverso, so people see both the case and the case back and understand the concept a little bit. Obviously, it doesn't have two cases. This is lot 126 for the Jaeger-LeCoultre Reverso Grand Dates, with the Grand Dates, of course, in its first execution actually being the origin of Lange's oversized dates. Of course, Lange did wonders with mythologizing that story and tying it in to their origins, which go back to the 5-minute clock that adorns the stage in the Zamperoper in Dresden. As it happens, the styling of that 5-minute clock harkens to this kind of display, but the oversized date module was actually something that Jaeger-LeCoultre gifted to Lange in the process of its revival. The gear trains also of the majority of Lange's first generation of movements were also from Jaeger-LeCoultre, and the watchmakers were ultimately trained or completed their training in Schaffhausen. None of this is a coincidence, of course. As you know, Günther Blümlein led this project of revival, joining forces with the family heir Walter Lange, and Günther Blümlein himself was, of course, leading the watch division of Mannesmann at the time, Les Manufactures Horlogères, which included IWC, JLC, and of course, the revival of A. Lange und Söhne as well. Here's again a very undervalued, very underrated watch, even though they have come to be appreciated a little more. Blancpain Perpetual Calendar from the 90s. You're looking at lot 128, a no reserve lot. Classic 34 millimeter case, perfectly round with slightly extended lugs and a beautiful stepped bezel. Balanced dial with kind of the 4 subdial look, or rather the 3 subdials with an opening for the moon phase indicator at 6, which has an anthropomorphic presentation of the moon. Roman numerals for the hours. Pointer date at 12 o'clock, day of the week at 3 o'clock, and the months at 9 o'clock. The Blancpain Perpetual Calendar. In yellow gold. Looks to be in pretty decent shape. One of a modern classic, so to speak, a great neo-vintage piece from lot 128 for Sotheby's New York fine watches. 34 millimeters of a yellow gold case with a beautiful stepped bezel. The piece has a pre-auction estimate of 5,000 to 8,000 US dollars. A few more Breguet pieces, which I think deserve a look. The 3137 is pretty much like the 3130, but it has an open case back. Here, that exhibition case back is given its right due with a beautifully engraved movement, which includes skeletonized off-center rotor weights, putting the B of Breguet in sharp relief. This particular version of the Breguet Classique 3137 is in yellow gold. And looks absolutely stunning and positively ravishing through the back. This is lot 130, a no reserve lot with an estimated value of 8,000 to 12,000 in US dollars. Certainly one to keep an eye on this Sotheby's in New York fine watches auction. $131 is Breguet 3040. This is a triple calendar watch with serpentine date hand, a French calendar as well. Very attractive piece housed in a 36 millimeter yellow gold case. Of course, this is a dial produced out of a gold blank, silvered, and engine turned by hand. The heat blued hands out of stainless steel look beautifully against it. Roman numerals on a Breguet frosted track, an aperture for the moon phase indicator at 6 o'clock, both the signature of the brand and the number for the movements are inscribed on plaques. The two openings above the signature of the brand are for the day of the week and the month. And you have a serpentine hand that indicates the date around the center of the dial. This piece is lot 131 for the Breguet reference 3040 at triple calendar with an estimated value of 8,000 to 12,000 US dollars. 132, not to be confused with it, even though it is also a serpentine hand for the indication of the dates. This is the Breguet Classique reference 3787, a perpetual calendar. This time the date is shown in the upper half of the dial on a scale that has the form of a downward facing crescent. The aperture for the moon phase shows you an anthropomorphic representation of the moon. Heat blued hands against a beautiful silvered gold dial. A leap year indicator between 1 and 2 o'clock. And the dates is serpentine retrograde hand, which snaps back to 1 at the beginning of the month, of course. This is lot 132, a no reserve lot, which has a pre-auction estimate of $8,000 to $12,000. It's a Breguet reference 3787, a perpetual calendar with serpentine retrograde date indication. I want to see what else do we have that is interesting. We have at lot 164, Gégé Lecoutre yellow gold Memovox, the famous alarm watch with the date. In 18 karat yellow gold with the self-winding caliber 911, a champagne dial, of course, with the additional crown to set the alarm. This is a reference 141012 with an estimated value of $2,000 to $4,000. Again, a no reserve lot, which will start bidding soon enough at $1. Lot 160 is, oh, 1 second. Sorry about that. I wasn't all that intrigued by that number, to be honest. There are a few Rolexes that are good old school tool watches from the 5-digit era. So I wanted to represent them as well. 148 is a Rolex Explorer 2 with the black dial. The piece is coming with its papers, and it is from around 2006. Bought from Mayer's Jewelers. Of course, by now, by that year, it was solid end links, super luminova on the dial, no um, no holes case. This piece has an estimated value of 6 to 8,000 US dollars at lot 148. At lot 1, please hit the like button, by the way, if you have any last minute requests, if you have any last minute questions, feel free to send them in with the super chats. Any particular requests for lots, you can send in the number by clicking that link and figuring out what you would like. If you want to support the channel, you know how. If you want to contribute to the channel, you know how. The links are included in the video description. And I will also put them in the chats. They are now pinned. And feel free to also take a look at the rolling ticker. Thank you so much for your support and presence. Please hit the like button. I think we have a couple more watches that I would like to discuss tonight. But I really appreciate your presence. Here is the classic, one of the last appearances of the two-liner sub 14060M. This is lot 146. The piece comes from around 2001, which means, once again, you're looking at one of the best compromises between the contemporary Rolex and vintage, one of the best representations, therefore, of a neo-vintage piece. You have the solid end links, but a Halls case, which allows you the modularity. You can just pop out that bracelet, even with the help of a toothpick. You have functional lume on the dial, superluminova. You have a solid end link bracelet. Beautiful, beautiful piece. And here it comes as a full set, box and papers, including outer packaging and some product literature. This piece has an estimate of $7,000 to $11,000 US. These pieces are not as great of a deal as they once were, but they are still, I think, one of the best neo-vintage Rolex watches to get. And it is always a great time to find a deal on these as well. 14060 or 14060M, which has the newer movements, both great representations of the classic Submariner, and here as a two-liner at lot 146 of Sotheby's Fine Watches, New York. The very, very last piece I want to share with you the very, very last piece I want to share with you is an interesting collaboration that's brought together some master watchmakers, including Daniel Roth, as well as Roger Dubuis and Peter Speak Marin. You're looking at Maître du Temps, Chapter 2. This watch was originally designed by Roger Dubuis, one of the most legible triple calendar watches ever invented. Maître du Temps was founded by Stephen Holtzman, and it was kind of a creative laboratory to bring together a group of master watchmakers for each chapter, where they will actually work together to create an original timepiece. The company started in 2007, and this particular watch was number 2, which was designed in collaboration between Roger Dubuis, Peter Speak Marin, and Daniel Roth. In a tonneau-shaped case, you have a triple calendar watch with an oversized date display at 12 o'clock, and very unique displays for the month and day of the week in these cylindrical indicators that bookend the dial from top to bottom. A very nice copper toned dial, small seconds, Roman numerals on the hour track. Very, very interesting design. And also very quick to set as well, as you can see with these discrete pushers. A very unique look that both makes the reading of that triple calendar complication easier, and also it's setting quite practical as well. The 22 karat pink gold rotor is hand embellished on the back. The movement is nicely decorated as well for what is, in this case, a tonneau shaped white gold number. With some pink gold details as well, which play wonderfully
with the copper toned dial, which combines it with silver as well. This is Maître du Temps, chapter 2 at lot 138 in a tonneau-shaped white gold case with pink gold accents for an estimated value of 12,000 to 18,000 US dollars. Piece apparently comes as a full set, as you can see here, with its original presentation box as well as papers. Thank you so much for being with me. We have covered the Sotheby's Fine Watches in New York auction today. Tomorrow, we're doing the part 2 of this amazing series sponsored by none other than I Love Maldives. It's going to be the part 2 of some of the most interesting watches that have come up on public auction from Eric Clapton's collection. The focus is going to be on neo-vintage Patek pieces from his collection that have been very influential, not in terms of directing the tastes of, not only in terms of directing the tastes of the collectors themselves, but even popularizing and influencing the way some brands started designing their watches, including some influences that Patek took on board for some serial production references. It's going to be a great show. As always, I'm preparing really well. We'll have about, again, 15 to 20 watches. Lots to discuss. It will be great. If you want to watch part 1, please check it out. This is part 2. Save the link, turn on the notifications, give it a thumbs up in advance. Trust me, you will enjoy it. That sounds a little, yeah, you will enjoy it. God damn it. But yes, if you want to watch the first part again, which we have from last Friday, please help yourself and give that a thumbs up as well. Thank you again. If this channel is completely independent, completely at the behest, but also in the service of its audience. So if you would like to contribute, you know how. The links are pinned in the chat, in the rolling ticker, and included in the video description. Feel free to reach out to me via email. You can find me on Instagram as well at young.brando, or write a comment. That really helps me as well. And it bumps up the videos too. So that is a great way to communicate as well. Sam Davidson and Jake Brooks, thank you so much for your super chats. Everyone else, thank you so much for your questions, for reaching out and interacting in the chats. I appreciate you all. I'll be back with you tomorrow. On Saturday, we'll probably assess the nominations for Grand Prix d'Horlogerie de Genève, the Grand Prize nominations. I look forward to that. And of course, on Sunday, we'll be at Steel Buffalo Motors 2. And I have a lot of very exciting contents coming your way tomorrow and beyond. Some special guests, some interesting interviews being lined up as we speak. I cannot wait. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy, wear your watches and enjoy them. Love you all. I'll see you in the next one.